The Final Girl, a trope often seen as a triumphant female survivor in horror films, became a central point of discussion and appropriation in various forms of media. The Final Girl theory, proposed by Carol J. Clover in her 1992 book, Men, Women, and Chainsaws, Gender in Modern Horror Film, explores the recurring trope of the last surviving female character in slasher films. According to Clover, the final girl is typically portrayed as more resourceful, intelligent, and morally upright than her peers. She often confronts the killer and ultimately survives, marking a departure from the fate of her less virtuous counterparts. Clover's theory delves into the gender dynamics at play in horror films, emphasizing the final girl's empowerment and resilience in the face of terror. In the context of Philippine horror cinema, the final girl theory has had a notable influence as a narrative styles. Although the direct application may vary, Filipino horror films have traditionally drawn from rich folklore and superstitions, weaving narratives that often involve supernatural entities, ghosts, and local myths. However, the influence of Western horror tropes, including those explored in the final girl theory, has become increasingly evident in Philippine cinema. Filipino horror films often incorporate strong female protagonists who share characteristics with the final girl. These characters are not merely victims but resilient figures who navigate the horror narrative with intelligence and resourcefulness. They challenge traditional gender roles, providing audiences with compelling and empowered heroines. The final girl theory has also influenced the storytelling structure in Philippine horror cinema. Filmmakers are more conscious of character development, ensuring that the female lead is not just a passive victim, but an active participant in her own survival. The narrative tends to focus on her strength, determination, and ability to overcome the supernatural or psychological challenges presented in the film. One notable example of the final girl theory in Philippine horror cinema is the anthology film 1990 Shake, Rattle, and Roll 2, specifically in the segment titled Aswang. In this story, a group of friends becomes prey to a malevolent aswang, a Filipino mythical creature similar to a vampire. In a remote province, the final girl in this segment is portrayed by Madeline Reynes, who plays the character Portia. Throughout the narrative, Portia transformed from a seemingly vulnerable character into a resilient and courageous survivor. Her character challenges traditional gender expectations as she confronts the aswangs, ultimately embodying the strength and determination associated with the final girl archetype. Feng Shui 2004, directed by Chito S. Ronyo, is another example where the final girl theory influences the narrative. The film revolves around the cursed Bangwa mirror that brings tragedy to those who possess it. Chris Aquino character, Joy Ramirez, emerged as the final girl who confronts the supernatural forces associated with the cursed mirror. Joy's journey throughout the film showcases her resilience and agency, adhering to the final girl archetype. The film not only utilizes horror elements but also explores societal issues related to superstitions and the consequences of greed.
Sinusumpa kita, Nick! Ikaw at ang babae mo! Maski sa kabilang buhay, babalikan ko kayo! Magbabayad kayo ng mahal!
In the horror film Patayin sa Sindak si Barbara, 1995, also directed by Chito S. Ronyo, Lorna Tolentino portrays the titular character Barbara. The story follows Barbara as she unveils the mysteries surrounding her sister's death and encounters supernatural entities along the way. Barbara undergoes a transformational from vulnerability to strength, embodying the characters of the final girl. Her resilience and confrontation with supernatural threats contribute to the empowerment of female protagonists in the narrative. These examples from Shake, Rattle, and Roll to Aswang, Feng Shui, and Patayin sa Sindak si Barbara illustrate how the final girl theory has influenced Philippine horror cinema. Female protagonists in these films defy traditional gender norms, evolving into empowered and resilient characters who actively engage and overcome the horrors they face. The adoption of the final girl archetype contributes to a reimagining of gender roles in Philippine horror narratives, showcasing the strength and agency of women in the face of supernatural challenges. Moreover, the final girl archetype in Philippine horror cinema reflects evolving societal attitudes toward gender roles. As the industry becomes more attuned to diverse perspectives and the empowerment of women, the final girl serves as a symbol of resilience and strength, challenging traditional horror films conventions. In summary, Carol Clover's Final Fury has left a significant imprint on horror film cinema. The influence is evident not only in the portrayal of female characters but also the narrative structure, emphasizing the empowerment and resilience of women in the face of horror. This incorporation of Western horror tropes into the rich tapestry of Philippine folklore creates a unique blend that resonates with local and global audiences.